In this video, you'll understand what makes a great composition and the different compositional techniques. Let's have a look. In design, composition is the placement or arrangement of visual elements or ingredients in a layout. When we view the composition, we immediately compare the elements and look at the interaction of the elements as a whole. Now, the way the composition is organized refers to its structure. We look at the structure as a blueprint of the composition. This structure can be loose or it can be rigid. When we first start adding in elements to our composition, we are adding in positive shapes. Positive shapes are elements that stand out to us. This grouping of positive shapes or elements immediately forms a complete figure or creates a foreground. On the other hand, we are left with an area where there is empty space. This is commonly known as the background. These two distinctions are very crucial in forming a complete composition. This is why it's important to consider both as equals. Keep in mind, they share the same edges with one another. The dependencies of the foreground and background, and vice versa, are very important to one another. Without one, the other one wouldn't exist. This relationship is referred to as the figure ground. When designing, it's always important to understand what the foreground and background are, and to treat them as two separate whole objects. We then use these two groupings to balance one another. When the two become so similar, like a complex repeating pattern, it then is referred to as the reversible figure ground or an equal inverse. In most cases, these are intentional in a design, depending on the designer and the type of solution that is being conveyed. Now that we understand what a composition is and the key points of balance, let's take a look at compositional techniques. There are many different compositional techniques. I would like to share a few of my favorites. The first and most popular technique is the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a way to cut the composition up into 9 different sections and use the opposing sections to balance one another or to highlight a specific element. The next technique is the rule of odds. The rule of odds simply states that an odd number of objects is more pleasing than an even number of objects. If you notice in a still object painting, there is usually an odd number of objects rather than an even number, and this all has to do with the rule of odds. The last technique I'd like to share with you is the rule of space. This technique is geared towards creating movement. Say if we want to make a still image to have a moving object like a man running, we simply leave negative space in front of him. See, what happens here is this. The eye is immediately drawn to the foreground objects and moves to the main object being the person. Then, once the eye proceeds to the white space, it doesn't know where to go, but back to the person, thus creating the illusion of movement. We now understand what makes up a solid composition and the different composition techniques. Let's now take a quick quiz before jumping into space and grouping in our next video.